Okay, we will begin now. So good morning to you all. Thank you for joining. My name is Odelia Malka from Argentum, and we will discuss the climate and energy cluster within Horizon Europe. Within this meeting, I will give a short introduction about us, Argentum. I will present a bit Horizon Europe, how it is divided, and drill down to the climate and energy cluster. I will present the targeted topics that we at Argentum are willing to enter, and some targeted calls within the cluster. I will explain a bit about our methodology regarding consortium application. I will give you also some information regarding previous collaborative project we have accompanied. And then I will present two panelists that are here with us, a representative from CSEM from Switzerland and a representative from Greenscribbing from Ireland. Both of them will present their activity and ambition regarding this cluster. I hope that at the end we will have time for a Q&A session. Therefore, I invite you all to write down your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take your question from there and discuss them with the panelist or addressed by me. So regarding Argentum, just a short presentation. Argentum, we are part of Freemind Group. Freemind Group is consultancy agency expert in non-dilutive funding. Argentum is focused on Europe only, and Freemind Group is working worldwide with the United States as well. We are over 150 professionals. We are divided in several departments, and I'm representing the strategic department, which means that in the strategic department, we are establishing the connections between the different funding opportunities and the different partners that are willing to participate. This is a bit about our activity, our network. We have a long list of clients from different types. We are working with startups, of course, deep tech startups, SMEs, but also large enterprise, universities, research centers, but also sites like municipalities, hospitals, depending on the field of activity. We are active in a lot of fields. In the different clusters, we have hosted different events like this one for other topics, and now we will focus on the climate and energy. Regarding the methodology, aligned with the European Commission guidelines, what we are doing is that we are bridging together industry representatives like SMEs and large enterprise with deep technology, scientific technology, but also research and entities that are able to facilitate implementation of a project. Bringing together those entities, we believe that we can bring successful project implementation. We accompany our clients throughout the different stages of advancement of a certain innovative solution towards development, design, experimentation, or this demonstration, implementation, deployment, validation, scale up, and then until commercialization. I will shortly present our business model because this is a question that always raises. So I prefer to cover this right now. The idea is that we, Argentum, we accompany the clients, the entity that are willing to participate throughout the whole process of the consortium building, the conceptualization of an idea, of a collaborative idea, the budget establishment, the proposal preparation, preparation until submission. We are committed to this process with our different teams that are working throughout the different process. On the other side, we expect also commitment from our partners, and the commitment is materialized by an agreement with Argentum and with fees that are divided in a small upfront fee for commitment and success fee in case of successful funding. I would like to present two collaborative projects we have accompanied lately that are linked to the topics we will discuss today. The first one is called District Chameleon, and actually the two panelists here have been partners in this project. District Chameleon brought together 35 entities, addressing each one of them part of an ambitious concept that could be formulated as a modular platform for building retrofitting, fully adapted and adaptive to the natural living environment. The idea of a chameleon that adapts itself to the environment. This modular platform included about 7 synergized solutions for district energy management, digitization process, the dynamic envelope of the building, sustainable materials, automated and smart indoor environment, and sustainable design. This was one of them. I will also say that the demonstration was planned to be held in 3 sites, one in Portugal, one in Czech Republic, and one in Ireland. And we will hear about the Ireland site shortly. The second project I wanted to present was called Synergy. It's a consortium of 25 entities from Europe, Africa, and Middle East. This project aimed to provide on-site renewable energies and economically feasible strategies for the widespread adoption in rural and urban communities in Africa. This consortium included breakthrough technologies providing solar, biochar, hydro, and biogas renewable energy sources. As you see in the picture, this is the synergy between the different technologies. And the consortia brought together local authorities and non-governmental entities, like the UN, for example, for optimized and optimized spread and adoption of the solutions. It included also local site managers for optimal implementation in Kenya, Ghana, Malawi, and Nigeria, and included, of course, research, monitoring, and evaluation partners that were in charge of data integration, management, and results. But now we are over Horizon 2020, and we are entering Horizon Europe, which is the next program, a 7-year program for 2021 until 2027. However, not officially published yet because of technicalities, but lately, like yesterday, we've heard that they will be published by the end of May. I believe that most of you have already overlooked or screened the climate, energy, and mobility cluster list of call. And in order to give you a very large introduction, Horizon Europe, as I said, a 7-year program following Horizon 2020, and 96 billion euros have been allocated. And the Horizon Europe is divided in 3 pillars. Today, we will focus on the second pillar that is targeting global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. The second pillar engages 53 billion euros in collaborative solution in different clusters in the health, culture, civil society, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resource, agriculture and environment field of activity. And we will focus on the climate, energy and mobility cluster that includes 6 destinations, we will come to it, and 15 billion euro are allocated for that. I will just shortly say regarding the pillar 3, we at Argentum are also very active in the pillar 3. Pillar 3 includes mostly the EAC work program. EAC work program includes 3 bottom-up calls, EAC Pathfinder, Transition, and Accelerator. When I say bottom-up calls, it means that in contrary to the pillar 2, it is not calls that are topic-oriented or addressing a specific challenge, but are open to every field of activity, every innovative solution. So if you're interested in those calls, we will also be happy to address your question. But let's come back to the second pillar. The fifth cluster that we will discuss about is targeting innovative, cutting-edge digital personalized solution able to apprise a more sustainable society towards a climate neutrality in Europe. The pandemic crisis has highlighted some very specific vulnerabilities in our social, health, and economic system. The European Commission believes that engaging our efforts toward the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by creating more jobs, accelerating economic and social transformation, faster digitalization, and by generating innovation-based and inclusive growth, activities will help Europe's recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis. The fifth cluster, let's go here. The fifth cluster, called Climate, Energy and Mobility, includes hundreds of calls that are typed RNA, IA, and CSA. RNA are research and innovation action, more research-oriented project with lower TRL level. IA are innovation action, more close to market products, more industry-oriented project. And CSA are projects that are targeting policy support and coordination activities. This cluster, as I said, is divided in 6 destinations that can be seen as topics. Then instead of reading all those destinations that you can read on my screen here, I will give the KPIs, the key performance indicator, in terms of impact for each of these destinations. So for the first one, we are targeting behavioral and governance transformation toward a climate neutral and resilient society and economy. For the second destination, we are targeting clean and sustainable solution in several sectors. Now we're talking about the construction sector, maritime sector, agriculture sector, sector, and more. The third destination will target cleaner energy supplies and optimized energy management. The fourth is targeting energy accessibility and inclusive society. And the fifth and sixth destination are targeting sustainable and smart mobility. Actually, we have hosted last week another meeting like this, focusing only on mobility solutions. If you're interested to hear, you can find it on YouTube. Now I'll present a bit the topics that are more interesting for us. I will say that the selection of those topics, we are basing our strategy on our clients' activity and our previous experience, because we are working always accompanying our client and aligning ourselves to their interests. So the topics that we are advancing are EV charging solutions, sustainable mobility, several calls, smart city and energy efficient building, renewable energy supply like innovative solar panel manufacturing and integration, energy management in terms of storage, distribution, flexibility and optimization, and the water, energy, food nexus. If we're talking about the calls, as I said, we have 100 calls in this clusters. I've brought here a few calls that currently we are targeting. I invite you to have a look. And also after this meeting, you will receive an email and you will have the possibility to express your ambition or your activity toward one or several of those calls, so that we will be able to bring the pieces of the puzzle together and consolidate consortium application. For each of these calls, we have already a few clients that are willing to apply, or that their invention is aligned with what is expected by these calls. So I will not explain exactly the scope of each of those calls because it will be very long. And I would like now to go and present our two panelists for today. As I said, each one of them will present his activity, his vision aligned with this fifth cluster. And also consider that you have all been invited to this event because we believe that you might be a valuable partner for this panelist. And therefore, while listening to our panelists, I would like you to think about your own vision that might meet and join these initiatives. Our first panelist is a representative from CSEM, the Centre, okay, he will say the full name of CSEM. It's Yves Stauffer, Senior R&D Engineer and Project Manager at CSEM. Yves has extensive experience in creating community. No, I'm sorry, this was for Brendan. His extensive knowledge about practical building operation and energy management. As I said, Yves has participated with us in District Chameleon from Switzerland, Neuchâtel. Yves, up to you.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. I will start sharing my screen.
Oh, yeah.
Otelia.
Now I make you host.
Perfect. And not yet. So obviously you can hear me, that's good.
Yeah.
And now it should be working. Share screen, screen 2. And can you see my screen?
Now, yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Can I get rid of that thing? Perfect. So good morning, everybody. So I'm Yves and it's CSEM. So we actually have given up giving the whole acronym because even to us, it's confusing. So it's CSEM. It used to stand for Centre Suisse d'Électronique et de Microtechnique, but as even for employees, we have to think really hard. We just don't say it anymore. So CSEM is a RTO. So that's similar to VTT and Fraunhofer. The difference is that as everything in Switzerland, we're really small. So it's 500 people that work in different domains. So that's like a Swiss pocket knife. We do many different things that happen to actually converge when it goes to CO2 reduction. Many of these technologies can be combined to get quite innovative solutions. And for the records, I'm in that division here called PV Center and Energy, which does make sense. What do we do at CSEM? So I said we do many things. So historically, we come from the watch industry. So that would be precision manufacturing. That obviously has now many different domains like MEMS and things like this. Digitalization is also a big field. That's what many companies do nowadays. So all the big data that would be embedded in that. And for my part, I'm in the green domain here, where we have three main activities. Digital grid. So here we try to maximize the benefits of a grid or to make it more stable, more robust. Have storage. So we have a whole team working actively at cell level up to BMS and also how to integrate batteries at district level. And we have also a whole team working at buildings. So buildings that would be automation. So how to make people inside a building as happy as possible with the least amount of CO2 emissions. And naturally, all these elements can converge in a single project. Now, little bit of history. So we have actually started working on these domains 20 years ago, but initially they were separated. So we had many projects on thermal management of buildings. So that was radiator control with predictive control, and electric management, so buildings with PVs and not that smart appliances. Up to, I would say, 10 years ago, these projects have evolved in parallel. And I would say with the appearance of heat pumps or the widespread of heat pumps, these projects have started to merge. And now we have projects that are completely in, everything is together. I mean, we have power to gas, we have gas networks, district heating networks, and electric networks, and everything talks together and tries to find the best solution. So now everything is meshed in a quite interesting way. Another way to look at that is the competences that we have. So we have grids. So that would be, so I'm just giving a few examples here. We have ways to optimize or have as much PV as possible on a single district without making the grid miserable. We have ways to optimally control the PV inverters. Then we have a whole domain of data analytics for renewable energy systems. The domain that I know the most, because that's where I usually work, is the buildings. So here we have everything from smart building control for heating, cooling, energy management, to also billing, so that the thermal heat used by somebody gets actually billed to that person and not to his neighbor. And then now the hot topic is the batteries. So here we have, as I said, a whole group of people working just on that. And now I will give 3 examples, one in the building, one in the district, what that would be grid, and one in the batteries to give you more insight of what we actually do. So that would be for the building. So we have indoor climate control. So here, back in the old days, we would just control radiators, but now what we do, we call that air handling unit optimizer. So it could be anything ranging from a heat pump to actually air handling units that we have in most of the commercial buildings, and that are in charge of making air renewal, humidity control, temperature control, and that is actually consuming quite a lot of energy. And what we aim at doing there is to have that automated so that we just have to interface it with whatever system exists in the building. So usually we can, each building is different, so there is no unique way of doing that, but we have gained quite some knowledge into how to interface with these elements. Then we just need some historical data. So in general, with 2 months of data, we can calibrate everything and it should be running. Then once it's running, during a couple of days, we vary the comfort within an admissible range to have more insight of how the system reacts. And then essentially the user just has to give its comfort preferences and it runs automatically. The kind of improvements we've seen on site is, I call that improvement comfort on hot days. So in Switzerland, many systems were designed back in the old days when it was cold in summer. And these systems are just under-designed. And essentially with the anticipation that we provide, we can actually make people less miserable in summer thanks to the smartness. So that's quite a nice feature. And on ordinary days or on systems that are correctly designed, we gain at least 10% of primary energy. And as I said, the goal is to have something simple to deploy, because people that do MPC, usually you need like 2 PhDs full time to get it to work. So that's exactly what we want to avoid. That technology is quite mature. So what we're interested in is getting it out in the field to really have it more validated and improved if necessary, and really to have people exploit it. So it's quite advanced, and we're really pushing for that. The other domain is now at grid level. So here, typically, if you look at the district, we can have electric energy, so storage, EVs that they come all the time, heat pumps. We can have renewable production here. and different kind of electric district heating and gas networks that communicate, and we need to synchronize all that. And here, I will not go through the whole slide, but essentially over the last decade, we have gained a lot of insight into the modeling and simulation of such grids, into optimization, and at the end, what we now have is, we call that the Maestro library that allows us to optimize the scheduling of all these elements. So if you have batteries, PVs, heat pumps, the Maestro will tell us when to turn on off the heat pump, the EV charger, the batteries, so that at district level, we have the best result from an economic point of view, because it's sad to say, but that's what people care, is to make money. If they can save some CO2, they're not unhappy, but that's usually not the biggest KPI. It's sad to say, but people want money at the end. Again, so that is ready. I mean, it's running on different buildings. So we want to have a really bigger or improved validation, improve if needed, and really have people exploiting that. Now, if we go to the battery, so as I said, we have a big expertise in cell modelings. Wait, how can I get rid of that thing up here? Ah, that's not what I want. My bad. I wanted to get rid of the thing up here. I will just continue. We have big expertise in cell modeling, so that would be improved state of charge and state of health estimators. We are also working on how to test cells faster. So that's very valuable for second life applications, where you have to test many cells and see, okay, are they still usable and what are their main characteristics. We do customized BMS managements. Development, and then we integrate that to server grid purposes like frequency regulation, and couple it with what I presented before at district level. So to have cost reductions at the grid level. And that's it for me. So if you have questions, I think you have to type them in the chat, and I will be very glad to answer afterwards. And I'm giving the host to you, Otelia. Voila. Yes.
Thank you very much, Yves.
Sharing.
Thank you. Yes, of course, you can write your question for Yves, and we will address them at the end of the meeting. Now I will share my screen again. And I would like now to present our second panelist, which is Brendan McCormack, director at Green Scriberin from Cork, Ireland. Brendan has extensive experience in creating community-driven climate action activities. Here is a short bio you can read. And Brendan, up to you.
Lovely. Thanks, Odelia, and thanks to Argentum for hosting us this morning. And thanks, Yves, as well. I hope I won't have any problems with my presentation slides. Welcome to you all. I'm here in West Cork on the south coast of Ireland, and we're a non-profit group that was set up in 2019. If you go to the next slide there, Odelia. As you can see from the picture, this is Myra's house, which is based in a small village, Lepp, in West Cork. Our group, which was established in 2019, was to create climate action projects that work with rural communities. West Cork is a very cosmopolitan area. There's a very great mix of local people and people who have moved in from outside the area. So we have substantial mixes in skills, experiences throughout the region. And our vision, which started last year, was to open a centre of excellence for climate action and sustainability, which due to COVID, everything has obviously been pushed back. In Ireland today, restrictions are being a bit more lifted and things are opening again. So we're looking forward to the summer of hosting more public meetings and more collaborations, because up until now, we've been very restricted with regards to Zoom and so forth. And our main mission is to reduce the usage of carbon, fossil fuels in West Cork. Our personnel, we've quite a good mix. You can move on, Adelia. That's okay. I'll keep track. We've quite a good mix of people. Jim O'Donnell, our chairman, had built a multinational furniture business in West Cork, starting back in the 70s as a wood craftsman. Noel Casserly is ex-director of Ireland's National Council for Sustainable Development and has worked with the Irish government at UN and EU level. Jose Espina is an expert evaluator for the European Commission on the Energy, Environment and Urban Innovation funding programs. He's also involved in Carbery Housing Association, which provides housing to low-income people and is involved in many kind of energy retrofits of these housing units throughout West Cork. Trish Lavelle, who's moved to West Cork in the last few years, has extensive experience as a project manager and educator within the British trade union movement and has worked with government, employers, community groups and educational institutions. Anna Husmina, very involved in the creative arts and art projects in West Cork, an MA from Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design. So we've a very sort of multi-purpose skills for partnering with anybody. My own background is in property and IT. I was worked with consultancies in the 90s in Ireland on some of the first internet-based fintech applications. So even though our main kind of aim is, even though we're a rural area, there is a lot of skills that we can connect with, and this is part of our mission, is to connect up the skills we have with technologies. You can move on again, Odelia. Project work that has gone on beforehand, and Jose Espina was involved in this, was an Energy Pathfinder project from Iris House, which has carried out baseline surveys of energy efficiency, includes recommendations for retrofitting and integration of renewables and analysis of air quality and moisture monitoring throughout the building. Our own work over the last 12 months, which has been funded by LEADER, which is a regional organisation from the Irish government for funding for rural development. And we've carried out architectural feasibility on the renovation of the building with Brady Malou Architects, and also with Exidea Consulting Business Consultancy in Dublin, business feasibility for the centre. So we've been very much spending the last 12 months in working towards a license and taking over the building, and also working on the feasibility of our plans for the building. We see it as a real beacon for West Cork, the region, and also as a beacon for the rest of Ireland, where what we do can be replicated in many rural areas. Ireland has a particular emphasis on rural, and a lot of our emissions currently, about 30%, come from agriculture as opposed to a 10% average across Europe. So we have particular challenges that we're very focused on meeting. You can go on, Adelia, to the next slide. Our partners at Mirus, we're based in West Cork. We're about 50 minutes from Cork City, 50 minutes from Cork Airport and Cork Ferries, about 3 hours from Dublin. We've already had work done with the Cork Centre for Architectural Education at UCC and the new university in Ireland, which is Munster Technical University, which has brought together previous technology schools, centres of technology in Cork and Limerick. We also have done work with NC Energy Hub, which is very community focused on retrofitting and creating funding opportunities for communities, domestic and corporate. We've done work with UCC Environmental Research Institute, who have been working on a research policy of imagining 2050, which is really to see what Ireland will be like in 30 years' time. And our work with them is trying to bring research into actually actionable actions in the community. Carry Conservation, who've been very involved with Akiboy Connolly Architects in looking at Mirus over the last few years in developing reports on how we can bring this particular building and location into a renewable future. Brady Malou Architects are very involved in smart cities, sustainable community development, sustainable towns and urban regeneration. And they've brought a lot of vision to what we're working on in West Cork. And Exidea Consultants, because like was mentioned earlier, the commercial aspect of this is to turn Mirus into a financially sustainable centre over the next 5 years, so that it creates its own economies and creates its own overflows of economies from climate actions into our local communities, our local villages, and into the wider region again. You can go on again, Odelia. Myriswood House, as you can see from the picture, it was originally built in the 1750s, and it has gone through about 4 renovations since then, from the early 1800s, the late 1800s, and the mid 20th century. So it's quite an interesting building with interesting challenges. It comes with sea frontage onto an inlet that takes you out onto the wild Atlantic, and there is also about 100 acres of mixed-use pasture land, horticulture land, orchards, woodlands, which would be a mix between conifers and indigenous deciduous. So it's quite a property. It has about 3,000 square meters of space. That's kind of mixed space between possible offices, lecture halls, workshops, accommodation units. There's currently about 50 bedrooms in it, and full catering facilities. So it's a very purposeful building that can be used for residential or day courses, for training, for dissemination as an incubation center. We have many areas we're looking to focus on. The land itself obviously presents the environment, and one of the things of West Cork is that it's a spectacular environment on the south coast of Ireland with very kind of mixed tropical climate because of the Gulf Stream and different effects of the North Atlantic. One of which we're seeing quite differences over the last few years with higher rains, higher storms through the winter, and we're now seeing drier from April through to September. So it's beginning, climate change is already happening in the last 10 years in West Cork and is presenting us with particular challenges. Where Myriswood House is based is beside the village of Lepp, another village, Glandore, and the village of Union Hall. These are within about 5 kilometers each of the house itself. So it gives us opportunities in terms of talking about sustainable energy communities, of connecting up to businesses and agriculture around us to see if we can develop renewable technologies and renewable energies that will change the perspective and energy use of our local community. And again, because we're doing it in rural Ireland, we're looking to be a replicable site for other parts of rural Ireland. The linkages, it's an easy place to get to. You can, the N71, which is the main national road then into West Cork, you're literally about 40 to 50 minutes from Cork City and Cork Airport. So transport at present between public transport of buses, cars and trucks, everything is fossil fueled at the moment. So there are definite challenges within rural Ireland as to how to solve the transport problem. These are obvious solutions that can be made to work in urban areas much easier, but present, because of the way people are living in dispersed areas outside villages and so forth, it's much harder to link up. So these would be also some of the challenges that we face. You can go on again, Odelia. We have, as said earlier by Odelia, with the District Chameleon project in 2021 and 2020. So we have seen a lot of work, and we've been working with Argentum and other partners on developing that Horizon application, and has brought a lot of thought and thinking and reports about our energy management and optimization in Myra's House, looking at the different possibilities with regards to energy efficient sources such as solar energy and wind and so forth, looking at building a dynamic and energy efficient building envelope around the building itself. And the challenges in an old heritage style building like ours, it's not a fully listed building, but it is within protected status. Also looking to bring technology, that kind of IoT platform software, and also dissemination into the community, because we're very much focused on that whatever we can do in Myris, we want it to overflow into the communities and get the communities involved in it, so that for rural Ireland, that we can jumpstart ourselves into this modern age that we're now faced with again. And one of the things when you look at rural locations from outside, people are always thinking in terms of they can be resistant to change resistant to new technologies. But when you actually look at 100 years of history in somewhere like Maris or West Cork, everything is always changing and technology is always changing. Agriculture has changed dramatically in the last 100 years and everything has changed around that. So the ability for a location like ours to take in new technologies is there already. I just don't think we're quite communicating it properly into such areas. And that's one of the challenges we have. You can move on again, Odelia, to the next one. So that's our potential as a site. The picture you're seeing, the Myris Wood House, was the site of the missionaries of the Sacred Heart, who from this location used to reach out into the developing world and into Africa. And really our new mission there is for this location to reach into the future and reach into a renewable future. In Ireland at the moment, we have the Climate Action Bill going through our Parliament, which will create a legal target of net zero emissions by 2050. So we're really putting the gun to our head in a certain way and jump-starting what has been a slow process in Ireland and accelerating it much more so over the next decade. The existing economies that surround us within Myris are predominantly featured is agriculture, tourism. There's a lot of technology in West Cork and the likes of Clonakilty and the likes of Skibbereen, where there's one of the first internet incubation centres was set up about 5-6 years ago. We've a lot of transport to sort out, and all of them are heavily rich in energy dependency. These are the things we need to change. So our mission is really to make rural Ireland and rural Europe a really decarbonised, smart, technology-focused and community-based approach to changing the way we do things at the moment. So that's Myris Wood House in West Cork. And thank you all for listening, and I'll hand you back to Odelia.
Thank you very much, Brendan. Thank you, Eve. Each time I hear you, it makes me want to understand more deeply CSEM technology and grow the system as we did it together. And each time I talk with Brendan, it makes me want to visit Myris Wood House. But more professionally, what is really beautiful is that when we listen to each of these partners, I try to take out the assets, the skills, the ambitions and the interest of each partner and try to merge it together. And when we meet each other, then we can build out a collaborative project. And this is the idea. So attending here or registering here, we have a lot of potential partner here. And I would like now to give you the opportunity to read your questions. So I will ask Ahava, that is working with me. Some of you have already talked with her, to take out some of the questions. And me, Eve, and Brendan, we will address the answers.
Hi, everyone. So at the moment, there are no questions. Jose just asked in the chat box if we will be giving more details on proposals we want to work with in Horizon Europe. So I'm just responding that yes, we will be sending a follow-up email to everyone with details on this. You're welcome to write your questions in the Q&A. You can direct them to Eve or to Brendan or to Odelia. We'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I think most of the questions here are regarding the presentation and the targeted list of core. So yes, after this meeting, during the day, we will send all of you an email. You will have the list of cores and you will have the opportunity to share with us what are your assets, skills, interest, and ambition, and how do you want them to meet other partners, and then we will be able to establish the connections.
Okay, I do have, thanks Odelia. I do have a question here from John. Sounds like there's a good match between the two presenters. I assume you're speaking of Eve and Brendan, for a joint project. Is this something they would consider?
Yes, of course, I will answer for them. We have already worked on a collaborative project. Eve and Brendan were also part of it, but while reading the calls, I have identified one specific call that could be a good match for those partners. I would like to go back to this, but how can I do that? Just a second. I will share again and try to go back to this slide with the calls. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, here is the list of calls. Okay, you see it? The first call here is a call actually to be applied. We will have to work on it during the year 22, and it will be for submission by the beginning of 23. And this call is requiring design, material, and solution to improve resilience, preparedness, and responsiveness of the built environment for climate adaptation. This is something that I believe is totally aligned with Cork's activity and initiative. I believe that CSCM skills will definitely help out there. And I have already a few partners that have expressed their interest in this call regarding their quality of sustainable design engagement. So this is, for example, one of them in the construction field. I'm sorry. But also, for example, this is a call that is addressing a solution regarding batteries. And Eve has also mentioned this hot topic regarding battery. Now, what is in entre parenthèses, how do you say? Well, what is written in battery partnership is usually another project, another collaborative project that we will establish connection with. So there is also already a battery partnership. And if we build up a collaborative project addressing this call, we will definitely take establish collaboration with this battery partnership. And as I said, and as also Eve said, the idea of digitalizing all the processes are definitely on the top priorities of Horizon Europe. What else can I bring here? The advanced manufacturing of integrated PV. This is also a topic we are quite active in. We have several clients that have in their portfolio some very innovative approach for the manufacturing process and the integration of PV in different sectors, including the building sector. What else? There are here a few calls in the mobility sector. We didn't discuss the mobility sectors because as I said, we had already an event talking about those calls. So for EV components and delivery methods, this would be for the mobility sector. But actually, the link can be done because Brendan, for example, you mentioned the challenges in the not urban but the rural area regarding mobility, sustainable mobility, the distances there. So what we do usually is that as soon as we conceptualize a project and we have core participants that want to apply, we will try to complete the consortium with additional or completing expertise. We will interest always our first network of clients, and then target some specific participants or some strong stakeholders in the domain in order to fully address the challenges of the core. This is a bit how we work. I discussed a lot, and I hope I even partially addressed the question.
Thanks, Odelia. John, I hope this answers your question. We have a question from Roisin for Yves. Does CSCM have any experience in energy trading, enabling end users to trade their energy? Yves, we
sorry,
don't.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. So yes, in the sense that in every project where we have to manage energy, we need to interface with people that actually do that. So we are not per se trading energy because it's not our business, but we know how people that trade energy want to talk to us or how they work. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, could you expand a little bit maybe, or?
So typically when it goes, so now the topic is how to manage flexibility at building and district level. So we know how to compute the flexibility, how to aggregate it, and how to expose it to energy managers so that they can actually take decisions and then tell us how to react at district and building level.
I will also add that if you remember, Yves, we had a partner from Belgium that we were trying to establish a certain business model based on this using and trading energy between in an energy community. This was part of the ambition of the project. So yeah, I believe that when we're talking about storing energy, flexibility, if Yves will provide the deep tech approach, we will also try to bring a partner that will go. Actually, Yves can provide also a billing solution, as you said. We didn't work on that in the previous project, but if we have the deep tech, the billing solution, we can provide a partner that will establish a model, a trading model regarding this energy optimization in terms of energy financing solution, but also energy lesser use of energy.
Thank you, Odelia. We have a question from Natalia. Hi, Natalia. Is there a requirement for academic partners from the social sciences? Behavioral, economics, etc., in the call texts? Odelia, that's for you.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, in all those collaborative projects, it is important always to bring out the human perspective. We are dealing with some very innovative technologies that their adoption might be a long run, and we have to take into consideration the eyes of the citizen, of the community, and how they will digest these new technologies implemented. Therefore, in each of those projects, we will have, for example, if we're talking about construction, we will have the architectural perspective. We will have a more social perspective regarding the citizen engagement, the community acceptation of the model. So the answer is yes. But of course, we will try to focus on the right skills, research skills for each project.
Thank you for your reply. The next question is from Dr. Ashutosh. I hope I'm reading that correctly. Do you have hydrogen energy small scale solution partners? for the call Next Generation of Renewable Energy Technologies?
I don't know. We have, but we have a very long list of clients, and I can't remember exactly what each one is doing. So I would prefer to answer this by email. As soon as we analyze a certain call, we will find we have like hundreds of clients. So of course, one of them is dealing with this activity, but I cannot really address the question like this.
Okay, so we will be replying via email. Again, I'll say that we're going to send a follow-up email with all the information that Odelia presented regarding the calls, and we will continue communication through that medium. We have a question from Dr. John mentioning that Africa is facing real challenges regarding energy. There's a lot of sun in Africa, but the only need is equipment. And you'd like to know if Africa will be considered under these calls?
Yes, as you see, I highlighted here the call to be applied in the beginning of 22. It will be a call with a 2.5 million budget, so it's not very large scale. We had a project with Africa with it was 10 or 12 million euros. So addressing the challenge of water, energy, food nexus. So providing a sustainable energy, and as you said, addressing the local challenges, it's as you say, very exciting and challenging. And I believe that yes, we will try to address the challenges of this call. I invite you to present us your potential participation or your ambitions or your idea regarding this project. We can also send you some more information about the request of this call. But yes, I do believe that we will be active for this call.
Thank you, Odelia. Another question, I don't have the first name here, just an email. Is there any call related to the standardization in the different protocols? And for example, communications, EVs, distributed energy resources, batteries, etc.
Yes, there is. It's not here in the targeted list. I will have to go back to the hundreds of lists. I've read them again yesterday evening, but I can't remember the name of all the calls. But yes, definitely, it's the standardization of all the coordination of those elements you mentioned is definitely a part of this cluster.
Thank you, Odelia. Maybe we'll give another minute or two for more questions, as there are no more questions. I do have a comment from Luke saying that Hology offers digital solutions to manage or value flexibility towards the grid. I think that's in relation to what Yves was saying earlier.
And it's in relation, this is the partner from Belgium I mentioned before. I didn't know he was here. I think there are questions also in the chat and not in the Q&A box.
Yeah, I'm following both of them. We do have another question now in the chat from Emmanuel. Is there any call that tackles the reliability of electronic components like solar converters that convert DC energy into AC and of batteries?
Yeah, this will be the same answer I gave before regarding the long list of calls. What we can do is that for partners that are interested in some very specific calls, write us a mail. I will send you the latest draft I have of the list of calls, and you can look by yourself. It will be difficult for me to go over the hundreds of calls and address each question regarding that.
Okay, I'm just typing in my email address here in the chat if anyone wants to email specific questions regarding some of the calls in this cluster. And at the moment, we don't have any more questions.
I think this means that we were very clear. Very good. So it's exactly 1 hour, so we won't waste your time anymore. And I hope you enjoyed and you have received some more information about something that is exactly what you want to do right now. This was the goal. We will take all the additional comments that appears here on the chat, and I thank you all. Wish you a lovely day, and I believe that we will keep in touch. Thank you, Yves and Brendan again.
Lovely.
And
Thanks, Adelia.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I will just say, because there are a number of extra messages in the chat that just came up, we will follow up via email. That's to Mariana, who just wrote to us. We'll be in touch. Thank you, everyone.